Hi guys, this video will be on how to make a cannula filter. Cannula is essentially just a piece of tubing. The things that you get in teaching labs will be plastic, but you can also get metal ones as well, but they're a bit trickier to use, less flexible of course. To make a cannula filter then you're going to need a cannula and a small piece of filter paper, 55mm in size, some Teflon tape and two Suba seals which fit our two flasks that we're going to be doing the transfer with. So we're going to take our filter paper, we're going to fold it into eighths. So you can see that it's small enough to fit into the palm of your hand, and you want to make sure that the creases that you're folding are nice and tight. The cannula will more than likely have a flat side and a sharp side. You want to be inserting the flat side into the filter paper here, and it's important as well to put it into the furthest outermost section of the folded filter paper, and that means that there's only one fold of filter paper separating our cannula and the solution that we're going to dip it into, so it only has to go through one layer of paper. We want to make sure that it's right at the end of the filter paper, and then we're going to fold the filter paper around the cannula, and the direction in which this is folded is quite important. We'll get to that later. So after that's on there, we can collect our PTFE, and we just want a fairly decent sized length of this. It doesn't need to be too long or too short. Something around 30 centimeters should be okay. So you can see here it's not excessive as it is quite expensive, we don't want to waste it. And you can then start rotating it around with the tape still attached to the roll, but I have more control, or I feel I have more control over it if I snip it off and just kind of go with the tape that I wish to wrap around it. So we're going to start about an inch below the filter paper to add a bit of security, and we're going to rotate it round in the direction that the filter paper is folded as well. So you can see I've got it on a bit of a slant, a bit of an angle, in order to wrap it round further up the cannula, eventually reaching the filter paper. You can see as well that I'm guiding the Teflon tape around. It can be quite tricky, and you'll know when you start to use Teflon tape it can be quite sticky, and so you need to make sure that it doesn't fold in on itself. And so guiding it around, making sure that it doesn't get tangled up. And then when you get to the filter paper, you can pop your finger on the filter paper there just to secure it in place as you tightly wrap around the Teflon. We don't exceed past the end point of the cannula, so we're not wrapping it all the way to the end, because then that would affect the uptake of liquid through the cannula. We're just wanting to secure it nice and tight so no solid gets caught in the filter paper. What we then need to do is really secure the joint between the cannula and the filter paper by wrapping the Teflon tape and securing tightly each time that we go around at that point. So you may want to do this a couple of times and winding it finally back down to the bottom. And you can see that the Teflon tape doesn't exceed the end of the cannula where my fingernail is, and instead it finishes just beneath it, and we want to make sure it's nice and tight and there's little movement in there. Any movement or looseness to the filter paper will just mean that product solid is being uptaken along with the solution getting caught in there and losing it. So by attaching our Suba seals, we need to make sure that we add our larger and correct size Suba seal upside down, so that when we push it along the cannula it comes the right way up, and then likewise with the smaller size, the correct size for our receiving flask, we can just pop in on the sharp side of the cannula, so it should be able to pierce the rubber, but you can see it's a bit tricky sometimes. And then we have two correct way up Suba seals on our cannula ready for our filtration.